Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Now, I want to end up playing this thing because I want to hear more of this. I want to hear more of this, and they nabbing them and getting them and then staying behind bars. I want to hear more of that. Who agrees with that? Put a thumbs up or a hand up or whatever you can to say that, yeah, you want more to stay in jail. We shouldn't keep letting them out of jail where they can keep harming our children. Okay. In Matthew 18, verse 6, but whoso shall, sorry, it's not showing this right now, sorry. If being one of these little ones which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and that he would drown in the depths of the sea. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Fair use, I gotta get it bigger, sorry, right there. It's kind of hard to read it. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute. You would not be infringing. I'm not going to read all that. Y'all already know the gist of that. I'm sorry that I have been out of commission. I haven't been doing well. Not too long ago, I had another bad flashback. So sometimes you just have to go in there and you have to take a break. You have to get away from a lot of this trauma, especially if you're remembering other things, similar to what I'll be going over today. Did y'all notice that states lose track of foster care children? Have y'all noticed that? Too many of our kids are going missing, right? So let's go to the very first. Whoever's here, please come in and say hello. And if somebody wants to jump on and join, I'll be glad to let you join. I'll say happy National Foster Care Month. Across our nation, hundreds and thousands. Oh, it's not showing y'all the page, is it? Share screen. Hold on. Across our nation, hundreds of thousands of children depend upon the foster care system to shelter them, nurture them, and prepare them for lives of purpose and promise. This National Foster Care Month, the First Lady and I join with countless Americans in celebrating the foster families whose devotion carries our youngest citizens forward by helping them realize the full potential of their unique American dream. In communities around the country, ordinary Americans rise to an extraordinary calling by opening their homes to children who have endured immense challenges that no child should ever know. These caregivers, alongside the social workers, clergy, educators, and countless volunteers who stand beside them, offer stability, belonging, and hope where once there was only certainty. My administration would set nothing less than excellent for the children in foster care who depend upon us. In November 2025, I signed an executive order on fostering a future for American children and families, a revolutionary commitment championed by First Lady Melania Trump to strengthen foster care, support families, and improve outcomes for children across our nation. Let's bind together as a country, y'all. So I'm not talking anything political. I'm just saying let's bind together for our children, right? Under my leadership, as well as the First Ladies, we are opening new public and private sector pathways for young people who have experienced foster care, improving data sharing among those who depend on it to increase efficiency, and enacting stronger accountability throughout the foster care system nationwide. Through the incredible work of our First Lady, the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence program has expanded its reach, devoting $30 million to supporting housing, stability, and long-term success for young people transitioning out of foster care, ensuring they are not abandoned at the most critical moment in their lives. A lot of times they are not taught to how to balance a checkbook. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to sew. They're not being raised with the adaptability to be able to take care of themselves once they get out of foster care. And a lot of people are joining the military because they can't even make it out on their own because they have not had the proper education and teaching to be able to stay. In states across our land, local governments are committing to bold reforms to address the shortage of foster homes. We are investing in families and communities to prevent children from entering foster care unnecessarily. And when children cannot remain safely at home, we are ensuring stable and loving foster families are ready to receive them with the comfort and warmth they deserve. States are rapidly recruiting foster families, strengthening kinship placement policies, and giving foster parents the resources and training they need to succeed. Foster families embody the very best of the American spirit through their boundless love, the quiet devotion, and their resolute faith in the potential of future generations. During National Foster Care Month, we honor every caregiver, every social worker, every judge, every advocate whose labor lifts our foster children. These are for the people that are uplifting our children, but the bad ones, no, we are not lifting them up high, okay? And I pledge that my administration will never stop fighting to give them the opportunity to succeed. When we invest in these young lives today, we invest in the strength, the character, and boundless future of America tomorrow. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim May 2026 as National Foster Care Month. I call upon all Americans to honor the efforts of those who contribute to our nation's foster care system and recommit to improving the lives of those children who depend upon their service. In witness thereof, I have erred to set my hand this 30th day of April in the year of our Lord 2026 and of the independence of the United States of America, the 250th. So let me go to the next. Please come in and say hello. So who's all in here? Can you let me know? So I'm trying to make the screen bigger. It's kind of hard to see. Keeps changing my screen stuff. They need to fix that problem now. StreamYard does. So let's get back over here. So let's go to the next thing. Hey, Carlene, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Hello, Chris. So now let's go over here to responding to youth missing from foster care. This will be our next one. I've got a lot of things to share with y'all, so please bear in mind. Some of this got me flabbergasted. I'm really sorry. I might mess up because when I put a lot into it, I start stuttering a little bit. I might stammer over my words because I care about the kids. Here's responding to youth missing from foster care in Georgia. Date, May 2020. Protocols for reporting children missing from care to law enforcement. The citation, DFCS, Child Welfare, POL Man 19.22. The policy, the Division of Family and Children's Services shall report immediately and in no case later than 24 hours after receipt information on missing or abducted children to the law enforcement authorities for entry into the National Crime Information Center database of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. If the child is determined to be missing from a foster care placement, the social services case member would do the following. Contact the NCMEC within 24 hours of the child's disappearance by calling the hotline number. And y'all can write that number down too, as because if you run across something, you'll need to call, okay? 1-800-843-5678. Again, 1 800 843 5678, which is 1 800 The Lost. Or go make a report on the website of cmsc.missingkids.org and complete the online form designed for child welfare caseworkers as follows. If the initial contact is made before there is an active missing person police report, contact NCMEC again once there is an active missing person police report. Advise NCMEC not to identify a child as being in foster care during any of its activities. Provide the child's name, date of birth, social security number, placement address, and contact information for the SSCM. Follow up with local law enforcement within 24 hours of filing the missing person report to confirm that the missing child has been added to the NCIC database of the FBI. Protocols for locating children missing from care. This is citation, which is DFCS Welfare POL man. DFCS shall have protocols for expeditiously locating any child missing from foster care as follows. Notify the DFCS missing children team within 24 hours. File a runaway report in juvenile court within 2 business days that includes efforts made to locate the child. If a child is suspected to be missing, the SSCM will do the following. Contact the caregiver and other household members to determine when and where the child was last seen, the child's state of mind at that time, if any of the child's possessions are missing. In conjunction with the caregiver, coordinate and conduct a comprehensive search for the child that includes, but is not limited to, the following. Attempting to contact the child on his or her cell phone or social media. Contacted the child's friends and persons with whom the child associates to determine if they had knowledge of the child's whereabouts. Visiting the location where the child was last seen and where the child frequents. If the child is a temporary custody of DFCS, contacted the child's parents and family members to determine if they are aware of the child's whereabouts. If the child is determined to be missing, the SSCM would do the following. Ask the caregiver if he or she has already filed a missing person report with law enforcement. Contact local law enforcement to confirm that a missing person report has been filed. If the missing person report has not been filed, file the missing person report immediately, but no later than 24 hours of determining that a child is missing. Notify the child's parents as soon as possible if the child is in foster care. Solicit the parents' assistance in locating the child if appropriate. Notify the DFCS missing children team immediately, but no later than 24 hours after a child is determined to be missing. Notify the juvenile court within 2 business days of the child's disappearance by filing a runaway report. Notify the following: the child's attorney, guardian ad litem, and court-appointed special advocate, CASA, if applicable. Any other division, department that also serves a child, including the child school officials, probation officers, attorneys, service providers, etc. In conjunction with the caregivers, continue a comprehensive search to locate the child as follows. Interview the child's parents and other caregivers to determine the child's state of mind when last observed. Revisit locations where the child was last seen. I give advice before I get more into the stories, okay? Continue to make attempts to contact the child via cell phone, social media, etc. Utilize voicemail, text messages, and other messaging to communicate to the child the need to return or go to a safe place, a police station, fire department, hospital. Interview other children at the child's placement to determine if the child shared his or her plans or contact information for other friends. Inquire about the child's use of cell phones or social media. Contact law enforcement to determine if they have made any progress in locating the child. Continue to follow up with the child's friends, parents, extended family members, and other adults with whom the child had a relationship for any updated information. Address the following monthly with the supervisor and every 90 days at a minimum with the county director if the child remains missing. Efforts made to locate the child. Additional strategies that may be employed to locate the child. The child's history of running away if applicable, and whether the child seems to be running to a specific place or person. Whether it is the child is known to be or is at risk of becoming a victim of commercial sexual exploitation. Encourage the child to return every time there is any contact made with the missing child. Determine the factors that led to a child's absence from care. The DFCS shall have protocols for determining the primary factors that contributed to the child's running away or otherwise being absent from care and to the extent possible and appropriate, responding to those factors in current and subsequent placements. Determine the suitability of current and subsequent placements. DFCS shall develop a written runaway prevention plan for youth at risk of runaway behavior within 7 calendar days following a youth returning from a runaway episode. A runaway prevention plan is a method of addressing circumstances and situations that might lead to a runaway episode or a recurrence of runaway behavior. The plan is a written document that helps to promote clarity and accountability. To be more effective, the runaway prevention plan should be developed collaboratively with children, their caregivers, and others working with the children. The plan needs to be realistic, positive, and based on a child's strengths, which will increase the chance of success. Since people and circumstances change, the plan should be updated to ensure it remains applicable to current circumstances. When developing the plan, the SSCM should do the following: help children identify their strengths and language that is easy to understand, good at being on time, friendly, respectful, athletic. Now, please by no means do you start coming down on a kid. That's going to make them want to leave, okay? If they're a foster care mother, every kid's a little different, so you might actually be harming the child more so. You'd be fussing instead of treating it with like compassion and empathy. Ask children what has prevented them from running away in the past, talking to the case manager, listening to music, talking to a friend, taking a walk, sports. Try to help children identify triggers, feelings, or behaviors that occur when they have thoughts of running away, like feeling overwhelmed, trapped, not knowing what to do. Ask children how their case manager and caregivers can best support them in remaining in their placement. Listing any other supports that may be needed, counseling, mentoring. Include contact information for DFCS and other significant persons in the youth support network, such as individuals the youth may contact at any time they find themselves in an unsafe situation or simply wish to return from runaway status. This SSCM will ask children, their caregivers, and involved parties to sign the plan and give everyone a copy. This makes the plan feel like a real commitment between all the parties involved. Subtents for plan development include the following: if a child runs away to see friends, work with caregivers to increase activities the child has with friends. If a child runs away to see birth family, increase family visits if possible, and make efforts to secure placement with a relative with whom the child is willing to remain. If the agency can limit trauma to the child, young adult, and increase connections with supportive people, the child, young adult will be more likely to make progress toward a stable adulthood. If a child runs away to reunite with parents or caregivers from whom he or she was removed, determine if the factors that prevented reunification in the past are still relevant. If not, follow the department requirements for pursuing the possibility of reunification. If a child runs away to use drugs, refer the child for a substance use assessment and any recommended treatment. If a child runs away because of problems with school, increase technical increase educational supports. If a child runs away because of conflicts with the foster caregivers, work with the child and the caregivers to resolve the conflicts. If it is not possible to resolve the conflicts between the child and caregivers, then seek a more suitable placement for the child. There's when the assessing the child's experience while absent from care. When the child is, it says right here, the DFCS shall have protocols for determining the child's experiences while absent from care, including screening the child to determine if the child is a possible sex trafficking victim. When the child is located, the SSCM will do the following: make face-to-face contact with the child within 24 hours. Notify the parent and the placement resource that the child in foster care has been located immediately, but no longer than 24 hours. Notify the DFCS missing children team immediately, but no later than 24 hours after a child is located. Notify law enforcement, the court, jail, CASA, and any other entities actively assisting DFCS with the research. Call the NCMEC hotline number immediately to notify them that the missing child has been located. If they did not locate the child, make every effort to place children previously missing from foster care in the same placement they were in prior to becoming missing, when appropriate. Interview the child within 24 hours of the child's return to determine factors that contributed to the child being missing, the child's experiences while absent from care, and to assess whether the child is at risk or is a victim of sex trafficking. Arrange for a medical examination within 48 hours of the child's return. In Child Protective Services cases, the parent must obtain the medical examination. Refer the child and family for appropriate services to address identified issues related to the runaway episode or other identified at-risk behaviors. Develop a written runaway prevention plan with the child, their caregivers, and others working with the child to address situations that might lead to a recurrence of the runaway behavior. It takes a village sometimes to raise our kids together, right? Visit the child more frequently, weekly, or more often as needed, to work with the child and caregivers to stabilize their relationship and to address the factors that led to the runaway episode and prevent further disruptions. Update the case plan when there are newly identified or modified services, treatment, and are needs based on the runaway episode. Document all case management activities. If the results of the assessment suggest the child is a victim of sex trafficking, the SSCM will do the following: contact the Georgia Bureau of Investigation immediately, but no later than within 24 hours to provide notification and to discuss next steps. Follow the procedures outlined in the Commercial Sexual Exploitation, Domestic Minor, Sex Trafficking Case Management Protocol. Attain services specifically to address the issues for the child determined to be at risk or a victim of sex trafficking. Time frames for closing a child's placement after running away. DFCS shall do the following: notify the revenue maximization specialist within 24 hours to determine that a child in foster care is missing and within 24 hours of when the child is located. Maintain an open foster care case on any missing child in the temporary or permanent custody of DFCS to continue efforts to locate the child and address concerns that brought the child into foster care. If the child is determined to be missing, the SSCM will send a notification of change to the RMS to notify that the child is on runaway status or otherwise missing from the foster care placement. The RMS will terminate Title IV-E reimbursements for a Title IV-E eligible child. When the child is located, the SSCM will submit a new Title IV-E application. If a child returns to foster care from a runaway missing episode, note: New determinations of all eligibility factors include judicial determinations of contrary to the welfare and reasonable efforts are required if the child returns to foster care after 6 months, as this is considered a new placement episode for Title IV-E. Let's see what's going on in here. Hey, Cash, how you doing there? Hey, Marquis, good to see you. See what I miss seeing y'all. Let's go ahead and see what y'all were talking about. Good to see you so much. Thank you so much for sharing, Cash. I appreciate it. The presumption of got to make the screen bigger where I can read it. Hold on a second. It keeps minimizing my screen. I'm sorry about that. They need to do better with that, don't they? Okay, so let me get to. I'm sorry about all this. I wish I would just leave it alone. It was doing good, you know. I don't know that much about ADHD. It is pretty scary. You're right. So let's go to the next thing I found on the. This is pretty scary. Where there's all these different things we got to do. Okay. Now we got a Senate inquiry launched into abuse and neglect allegations in Georgia's foster care system. Remember Charles Rogers came in here, right? And there's a lot of the traffickers over there in Atlanta, Georgia. So earlier this week, 11 Liza Lucas reported that Georgia and DFCS spent $28 million housing kids in hotels. Put in mind, this was a couple years ago, 2023. A Senate inquiry has been launched to demand answers from agencies about child abuse and neglect in Georgia's foster care system, following investigations from local media outlets. Reports and investigations from local media outlets said that children in Georgia's foster care system have been subjected to alleged abuse and neglect, prompting U.S. Senate Human Rights Subcommittee Chairman Jon Ossoff to launch a bipartisan inquiry. Ossoff and Ranking Member Marsha Blackburn demanded answers from the Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services on their ability to keep children safe under their care. Ossoff and Blackburn released a statement discussing their decision to launch the inquiry. Our nation's foster care systems implicate the most fundamental human rights of American families and children, including their safety, dignity, and well-being. Ossoff and Blackburn wrote, yet recent official and press release reports raise serious concerns about the ability of Georgia Division of Family and Children's Services to ensure the safety and well-being of the children in its care. And it's pretty scary over there in Cobb County, Georgia, where a lot of the people that's in with the sex trafficking are attorneys and the judges, police officers over there in that area too. Georgia Office of the Child Advocate OCA reportedly revealed systemic breakdowns within the state's foster care system. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, with caseworkers not adequately responding to child abuse cases and placement services for victims of human trafficking, sexual abuse and physical abuse are often being inadequate or inappropriate. Whoa, yeah. Earlier this week, Liza Lucas reported that Georgia and DFCS spent $28 million housing kids in hotels, often for months at a time. The findings led to concerns about DFCS' ability to ensure the safety and well-being of the children in its care. Yeah, I remember when I did a case where there were children staying in the hotel and there was a lot of people coming in, the children being trafficked. That's an easy way to get them trafficked, ain't it? In the interim, hoteling not only comes at a cost to children, who miss out on needed services in school, but also cuts into the department's budget. On average, hoteling costs around $1,500 per night, including the cost of the room, meals, and DFCS behavior aids, according to DFCS data compiled by Voices. As leaders, we have no higher obligation than to protect those who cannot protect themselves, especially children at risk of abuse or neglect, Blackburn said. Ossoff, who has been an advocate for protecting children across Georgia, backed a bipartisan bill last year to protect children from online predators and sexual exploitation, which passed the U.S. Senate and moved closer to becoming law. These recent revelations provoke Ossoff and Blackburn to continue their effort to keep children safe and ensure that DFCS is held accountable for their welfare. You got that right. We need accountability. Do y'all agree? Okay, now let's go to the next one. So, what do you say about what I just read there? Oh, yeah. I was in foster care a little while when we went to court when I was living with mom, and it was so scary. And this was in Florida. It was so scary. I didn't know what my siblings were. They did not have me. The only piece of furniture up there was a little bed that was a little mattress that was on the floor. Then she came and removed the mattress, and I was thinking, where the heck am I going to sleep? There's not even curtains in here, right? So I didn't know what to think. And my siblings supposedly were on another floor, but they were together. And yet I was placed up there, but there wasn't no furniture at all. And that was pretty scary, you know? That was crazy. So next thing we're going to go over, Georgia's DHS amends three rules to state's foster care system. And that was February 20th, 2023 also. So let me go ahead and see that. This is where Georgia DHS amends three rules to state's foster care system. The rule changes will allow families to foster more children at a given time and will e- more easily allow family members to stay together in foster homes. Gotta pause that. Georgia's Department of Human Services announced Monday several rule changes. This was, like I said, February in 2023. Several rule changes that would ease some regulations for foster families as well as agencies that place children with foster homes. DHS said in a release that there were three rule changes in particular. The changes come amid heightened scrutiny on Georgia's foster care system, which is both now the subject of a Senate inquiry and has been under the microscope of state lawmakers as well. The changes clarify how many children can reside in a foster home at a given time, lower the barrier for child placement agencies to hire or promote a caseworker supervisor, and make it easier for foster homes to keep members of the same family together. And the first rule change to Rule 290 2 2-01, according to DHS, the definition for foster family or foster home will be changed so that a home can care for up to six children in the foster care system at a given time. Previously, the six child limit applied to the total number of children living in a home, including those not part of the foster care system. The second change to Rule 290 2 204 expands the kind of master's degree that qualifies someone to be a caseworker supervisor to include special education, guidance counseling, and related fields. It also revises a 2 year minimum for experience as a caseworker at a child placement agency to 1 year in a human services delivery field generally. The third change is to Rule 290 2 2-07, provides for exceptions to permit more than six foster children in a home and such a situation that would allow a family to keep a parent and youth in foster care with a parent and youth child and to keep siblings together. According to DHS, the Board of Human Services voted to adopt the rule changes on February 15th. They are to go into effect on March 13th, which he probably did already. The safety is our top priority. Will we continue to make further improvements and reforms where they are needed? DHS Commissioner Candace Rose said in a statement, the Georgia foster care system was announced as the subject of a Senate Human Rights Subcommittee inquiry last week over allegations of neglect and abuse. Georgia Democratic Senator Jon Ossoff chairs the committee. Additionally, state lawmakers have been looking at how to end the practice of hoteling children in the foster care system. These are youths who usually are in need of specialized services and are having trouble being placed in a home and who end up living in hotels or in Division of Family and Children's Services offices with caseworkers. I remember over in Tennessee, they had so many kids that they brought in from the border, and the kids were having to sleep in the offices, DFS workers, and they even let the kids there while they went home. So that was pretty scary, knowing that as well. Advocates estimate about 50 to 70 children in the foster care system are housed in state offices or in hotels nightly. Okay, so let's get rid of this one. Okay, let's see what this one is. Okay. So then we're going to get to what John also said. Yeah, it's pretty sad, ain't it? Okay, got to bring that back down. I would like somebody to get up here and talk with me when I get in a certain place where then we talk about what all we had. Okay, here's Senator Ossoff. So breaking. Senator Ossoff's bipartisan bill to protect children from online predators and sexual exploitation passes U.S. Senate. It's December 20th, 2022. Did y'all notice that they passed this bill and everything, and yet there were like 1,970 or 1,790 kids that were basically missing? The partisan bill will strengthen federal protections against sexual abuse of children, including online exploitation. Just this week, the FBI and DOJ warned of a rise of sextortion cases targeting teens. U.S. Senator Jon Ossoff, bipartisan bill to protect children from online predators and sexual exploitation, passed the U.S. Senate. Senators Ossoff's Prevent Child Sex Abuse Act of 2022, with Senator Chuck Grassley, will strengthen federal protections against the sexual abuse of children, including online exploitation. Parents across Georgia are increasingly worried about online sexual predators who are targeting children. I brought Republicans and Democrats together to keep kids safer online and crack down on predators and abusers to the full extent of the law, Senator Ossoff said. The bipartisan bill will strengthen federal laws to specifically provide protection against accusers who coerce children into sexual activity online, such as through messaging platforms or webcams. If you catch a child doing something like this, they're just a child and they're easily manipulated. Don't fuss at the child. You need to show the child, that we could get through this. Do it in a good way because you might actually send a kid into a suicidal. So be very careful, okay? This week, the FBI and Justice Department warned of a significant in sextortion cases nationwide, where minors are coerced into sending sexually explicit photos and then exploited for money. That's what they had done to some students. They claimed that they were a student, and there are some programs that the school is using that I feel like there needs to be some kind of lockdown on that app where not everybody can get it. Okay, so I know that the parents can end up getting it, but what's so bad is that there's some adults that ended up getting that app, and they could see into your kids' rooms. They'll see who's all listed in that per se class. And then all of a sudden they could go like and contact your daughter or your son, and they said, "Hey, I'm in such and such class with you," and lie, because this is grown up man right here that's talking to the child, presenting himself to be a fellow student that knows some of these other kids' names just because they're able to get into that app and see these other kids' names. There's got to be some kind of protection that's going to protect our kids from these people being able to see who's on that list. Y'all know what I'm saying? This week, the FBI Justice Department warned of a significant uptick. The Bipartisan Preventing Child Sex Abuse in 2022 is endorsed by leading child protection and law enforcement organizations, including the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, National Center on Sexual Exploitation, National Association of Assistant U.S. Attorneys, Rights for Girls, Stop Child Predators, and the Keep Kids Safe Movement. Y'all see these different organizations here? First, like I said, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Okay. The next one is the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Then the National Center for Sexual Exploitation, and it says NCOST right here. National Association of Assistant U.S. Attorneys, Rights for Girls, Stop Child Predators, and Keep Kids Safe Movement. Wow. Now let's go back over here and see if anybody said anything. And thank you so much too. Oh, it's Cash going. Yeah, we do need to do a lot better, don't we? You're right. So the next one we need to go to. I'm fixing to give y'all a testimony about something, okay? This is a testimony. Let me make this bigger where I can see it. Of Venus Bradley before the Senate Judiciary Committee, ensuring the safety and well-being of unaccompanied children, June 14, 2023. My name is Venus Bradley. My husband and I have been licensed foster parents in Durham, North Carolina for the past 7 years. At that time, we have fostered 25 children ranging in age from 2 to 17. In March 2020, we accepted a placement for two sisters who were 15 and 17 at the time. With their permission, I would like to tell you a bit about them and their experiences. When they were 11 and 13, they were asked if they wanted to go live with their biological father in America. Neither girl had any memory of him, but as a palm oil plantation laborer who had her first baby at 14 years old, the mom knew firsthand what broken dreams looked like. They had an uncle who was in the military that was beheaded. The family was threatened with death if they reported it to the authorities. The femicide rate, along with rampant physical and sexual violence in the country, was a huge factor in the mother's difficult decision to arrange for the girls to travel to the United States. Their mom saw sending her children to the United States as an opportunity to protect and even save their children from an uncertain future. And so, a family member agreed to escort the girls to the U.S. border where they could eventually reunite with their father. The journey was long. They were escorted by a trusted family member to a place where they could turn themselves over to authorities and safely come into the United States. Originally, the girls were separated when they were taken into custody by Customs and Border Protection. The younger daughter described how she cried for hours, terrified she would never see her sister again, because one was a teenager and she was put into a room with other teens. They were given thin silver blankets, which weren't enough to stave off the cold. They could hear the other children crying, often well into the night. No one told them what was happening, which made them more fearful that something bad would happen. They had their father's phone number and address, but the other girls struggled to get anyone to listen to her. Eventually, the two sisters were reunited once they were put into the care of a child welfare agency and moved to a children's home. But they weren't given a lot of information there either. The children's home had a lot of kids, hundreds it seemed. They didn't count, but described it as so many kids. Some of the children had been there for 2 and 3 years. This worried them. At least there had been beds, food, games, movie night, and school. There were lots of rules, but it made easier uh, by having friends. While they were allowed to see each other, they still didn't sleep in the same room. Generally, they think of this time as stressful, but not too bad. Still leaving their home and mother behind a new country and extremely traumatic for them. And they both worried about their safety and future. They were in a different country, didn't speak the language, didn't know what was happening, weren't together, was worried that they would be like the kids who had been stuck there for years. There was no one to assure them, and the adults felt more like minors with their list of rules and regulations. After 6 weeks total, the U.S. government custody, they were eventually flown to their biological father. The girls had no way of knowing that this family reunion that they dreamed of would eventually turn sour. The better life their mother wanted for them slowly turned into something like a Cinderella story, marked with deeply controlling behavior and physical abuse. Eventually, the girls disclosed the abuse to an aunt and school counselor who helped them report it to the authorities. Once the abuse was reported, the system helped them report it to the authorities. Once the abuse was reported, the system functioned as it should have. The allegations were taken seriously, as the father could no longer take care of the girls. The Durham County Department of Social Services stepped in and removed the girls from their home, first to a family friend, and then, a few weeks later, to us. As most cases in foster care go, justice was slow, and it took nearly 2.5 years before their father was convicted and sentenced to prison, but justice did come. When her daughters came to live with us in March 2020, she had no idea what he had signed up for. Beyond being on COVID lockdown with strangers, both of our girls had a lot of healing to do. The younger one had nightmares to the point that she had to take over the counter sleep aid. The older girls struggle with parentification, which is when a child is forced to take on a parental role that they are ill equipped for. Wow. So the other girls struggle with parentification, which is when a child is forced to take on a parental role that they are ill equipped for emotionally and psychologically. They struggle with trust, anger, resentment, independence, and guilt. Their social and emotional development was stunning. They were like little mice in our home, afraid to make a noise, afraid to ask to do anything, and afraid what would we say if they didn't help us around the house. The trauma they had endured had altered their brains permanently. It took a lot of time to build a connection with them, to get them to a place where they could properly heal and even dream for the first time. I asked my daughter once what she used to dream. She would say when she grew up, most children would tell you a firefighter, a ballerina, or a teacher. Wow. We didn't have dreams, is what she told me. It's hard to dream when you don't see a future for yourself. In May, our oldest daughter got her cosmetology license. She said she wanted to help people feel beautiful. It took her 2 years, but she is now officially licensed, and at the time of running this, has two job offers. Wow. At salons and three more interviews go. She hopes to own her own salon one day, one that has stylists who speak several languages and a diverse clientele. She lives independently in her own apartment, although it isn't uncommon for her to ask me a lot of questions throughout the week. Our youngest granddaughter, our youngest daughter, graduated high school this Monday and will be attending a 4 year college in the fall. It has already accrued 22 credit hours from our local community college. She is still an undecided major, but it's it's leaning towards business and real estate. It isn't uncommon to see her scrolling through Zillow, just looking at the houses and dreaming. Kinesiology is also on the table as she has developed an interest in physical fitness and athletics. They are the first in the family to graduate high school, go to college, or be certified in anything. Because both girls became adults before we could adopt, we are now in the process of two adult adoptions, which should be finalized by the end of the summer. While the legal status won't change, it would definitely make us a family. Before you think these girls have had a completely happy ending, I want to tell you the obstacles are still in their way. Neither girl has a green card, despite special immigrant, sorry, despite receiving special immigrant juvenile status, having the authorization to work in the U.S., Social Security cards, and submitted green card applications. They are ineligible for many of the services that other young people trying to plan for the future have access to because they are trapped in a years long visa back in visa backlog, preventing them from getting their permanent residence. It just goes on and on right here. So I'm see if there's any more right here. Okay, so I think that one's a close. So we're going to go to the next thing. I can't post comments to the destinations. Here's where the states lose track of thousands of foster children each year. I kid you not. Do y'all see that? Track of thousands of foster children every year. This was November 2023. A Portland foster care child, Nevaeh Borbart, 15, has been missing since October 7th, and authorities say she is endangered. Nevaeh previously went missing in July. Authorities are asking for the public to call 911, local, excuse me, local law enforcement, or the Oregon Child Abuse Hotline at 855-503-SAFE, 1-855-503-7233. They believe they see her. Recent audits show tens of thousands of children in and out of foster home placement go missing. The story was originally published on Stateline. Sharday Hamilton, a 28-year-old advocate for foster youth, homeless youth, and runaways, still bears her own scars from running. There's one near her left knee. She got it as a little girl running away from her foster mother, who was trying to hit her with a bag of frozen food, but who sometimes used a skillet or a baseball bat. There are the burns she suffered when she was forced to sit on a hot stove. Oh man, me and my twin sister both. My stepmom said, "Y'all try to sit on the hot coal stove." No, would we not? Being 4 years old, we couldn't have got up there. We would have burned our hands ourselves. So our stepmom literally placed me and my twin sister on the hot coal stove. Of course, we jumped up. That hurt like heck. Case workers and school counselors didn't visit Hamilton's foster home in Harvey, Illinois, or check in with her often enough, recalled Hamilton. Now, Mentor at the National Network for Youth, a nonprofit focused on youth homelessness. And when they did, she said they missed signs of abuse. The system failed me, she said. Hamilton sometimes spent nights at a friend's house to avoid the violence. Many foster kids in similar situations also flee, and some of them don't come back for weeks, months, or ever. Tens of thousands simply disappeared from the foster care system, according to several recent reports, putting them beyond the state's protection and at high risk of sexual exploitation. Under federal law, state social service agencies must submit a report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, a nonprofit organization established by Congress in 1984, when a child under their care goes missing. They also are required to notify law enforcement who report missing children to the National Crime Information Center. But an audit published earlier this year by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services found that across 46 states, state agencies failed to report an estimated 34,800 cases of missing foster care. Y'all see that? The Department of Human and Health Services. State agency failed to report an estimated 34,800. Where's the kids, y'all? Cases include children who ran away multiple times. Sorry. The average age, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, was 15. When it comes to teenagers specifically, most child welfare systems just don't have the right service array because systems are often built for babies and younger children, said consultant and attorney Lisa Pilnick, director of Child Family Policy Associates, a child welfare consultant and research firm. We don't have enough family placement. We don't have family placements that are equipped to make. Okay. So teens often run away and go missing more than once during their time in foster care. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children report found that about 40% of foster children who were reported missing went missing multiple times, on average 4 times while in state care. Black and Native American children are overrepresented in foster care and make up a disproportionate number of missing kids. Hamilton was among those black children. Studies have shown that states are more likely to remove black children from their homes, and this is racial bias is a factor. The foster care system is wrought with a lot of difficulties, said Gaetane Borders. Wow. So the foster care system is wrought with a lot of difficulties. Gaetane Borders, president of Peas in the Pods, a nonprofit that advocates for missing children of color. When you add that to the complexities of missing children, reporting of missing children, and how that intersects with human trafficking and sexual exploitation, it is honestly it's a complete mess. Recent reports on some states are equally damning. In Georgia, nearly 1,800 children in state care went missing between 2018 and 2022. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, taking a breath after that. Whoa, that kind of hits you, don't it? Okay. So more than 20% of those were likely trafficked, Samantha Sow, supervisor of the Center's Child Sex Trafficking Recovery Services team, said at a subcommittee hearing Monday. The Georgia Division of Family and Children Services takes seriously the issue of missing or runaway children, and they have a 14-page policy memo providing detailed instructions to DFCS caseworkers on how to handle reported missing children. Give SKCS caseworkers on how to handle reported missing children, lawyers for the agency wrote in response to testimony presented to the Senate panel. To further bolster our practices, the agency will advocate for changes in state law in the upcoming legislation session to allow more information sharing with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Y'all, there's a barcode at the top of my screen. That is to the book Born in Living Hell 2.0. It shouldn't be long before I have my next book available, okay? Unshackled. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services audit of Missouri, released in 2021, found that in 2019, 978 children went missing from the state's foster care system. Nearly half of the cases reviewed weren't reported to either law enforcement or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There needs to be more oversight and accountability for checking in on these things. Boy, so let's see a warning sign. In most states, overburdened, under supervised caseworkers are hard pressed to protect all the children they are responsible for monitoring. And when kids go missing, caseworkers often struggle to prevent it from happening again and again. Amy Robbins, Forensic Services Director of the Child Advocacy Center of Northeast Missouri, and social workers and search teams most must figure out whether missing foster kids are running from an out of home placement or running to someone, perhaps a sex trafficker who promises the freedom and a better life, or if the kids are doing both. Typically, the part that we miss with this population is we're not asking the right questions, Robin said. Police and school officials often, well, I'm getting tired of reading it, I guess you could tell. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Police and school officials also should be trained to recognize when a foster child or any other child is being abused or trafficked, said Alexandra Miller, Deputy Director of the Center for Juvenile Justice Reform at Georgetown University. There's definitely a lack of professionals being able to identify what those warning signs are. Miller said law enforcement or school officials might not realize, for example, that burglary or trespassing by teenagers could be survival crimes or crimes that are tangential, uh, tangent, tangential to being trafficked and abused, she said. Since a scathing 2021 report, Missouri's Department of Social Services had created a full-time staff position focused on children missing from state care. The state also told Stateline it has a team dedicated to helping local law enforcement agencies investigate and prosecute neglect, sexual abuse, and other crimes committed against children. And a new Missouri law modifies law enforcement's missing child definition to include persons under 18 years of age. Foster children, regardless of age, emancipated minors, or homeless youth. It also requires child welfare authorities to file a police report within 2 hours of determining that a child under their care is missing. Florida also recently passed legislation creating a task force focused on finding children missing from foster care. A team should be ready to go and hit the ground to find out if these kids are actually on runaway status or has anybody snatched them, said Florida Democratic State Representative Patricia Williams. It is our job as adults, as the legislators, to put things in place to protect all of our children. This summer, an Arizona bill was signed into law that requires the state's child welfare department to report a missing care foster care child to law enforcement within 24 hours. It also requires law enforcement to notify media outlets within 48 hours. The bill was introduced 2 weeks after two teenage girls were found dead in a retention basin after running from a group home. And last week, well, over a year ago, sorry, U.S. Senate unanimously approved the Bipartisan Find and Protect Foster Youth Act. The legislation will require the Department of Health and Human Services to evaluate why states are failing to comply with the federal rules, and to help them remove those obstacles. The measure now awaits House approval. There needs to be more oversight and accountability for checking in on these kids that are in and out of home placements. So Jessica Saints is executive director, Child Abuse Prevention nonprofit Missouri Kids First. So then there's Abby Warmker, the deputy regional inspector general for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, said the agency's administration for children and families must do a better job at holding states accountable for reporting missing foster youth and screening them for sexual exploitation when they are found. I wonder how many times that some of y'all, said, I'm not going to get involved, I'm not going to do this. And she might have seen um, a kid being mistreatment, but she's not going to step up. Some of them don't want to step up because they like, I don't want to get involved. Boy, what we found is that the Administration for Children and Families is really good at making sure that states have policies and procedures in place, but they're not so great at making sure that those policies and procedures are being followed at the state level. The risk for exploitation is so much greater when children are missing from their former care placements. So it's just really critical that there's oversight at every level. Hamilton said her goal as a mentor of the National Network for Youth is to help foster kids advocate for themselves whenever they feel unsafe. I want them to know it's okay to speak up and speak out, she said. It was traumatizing, but I'm glad I'm able to live and tell my story. Wow. If I got anything to say there, hey, Bucket List, good to see you. Thanks for coming in. So I got a minute to keep playing my window every time I put something up there. I hate all that. I hope you're doing good. Thanks for coming in. So let's see which one we want to go to. And of course, y'all know without me having to really get into it. So when there's an urgent issue, hundreds of Georgia foster kids may have been sex trafficked. We know that for sure. That that's true. So I don't think there'll be any need to really go over that one. Now this one right here is CARS Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit recovers 11 missing children in Georgia through Operation Coast to Coast. So let me share this tidbit. Okay. Let's see if it's got a date on here. I don't see a date right here. Oh, it's April the 24th, 2026. So this was actually this year. Georgia Attorney General Chris Card announced that his Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit has recovered 11 missing children in Georgia. Okay, let's go ahead and do that sound over here, right? Just get over here to that little sound. More than 250 law enforcement agencies across 30 states participated in this year's effort, mobilizing simultaneously Thursday to execute one of the largest anti human trafficking operations in the United States. Overall, 154 adult victims were identified across the country, including one victim who was 7 months pregnant, as well as 12 minors. 11 were from Georgia. Sadly, the vast majority of our human trafficking cases involve a child who's gone missing, said Carr. That's why operations like this are so important, allowing our team to work with law enforcement from across the country to safely locate victims, dismantle trafficking networks, and hold predators accountable. I'm proud of our Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit for their tireless efforts over the past few days. But our work doesn't stop here. We keep fighting until every child is recovered and every trafficker is behind bars. Operation Coast to Coast was organized and led by the Human Trafficking Training Center, HTTC, a law enforcement training organization founded by former Missouri State Trooper Dan Nash. CAR's Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit served as the head agency for Georgia based efforts, working directly with the Georgia Department of Human Services, Special Investigations Unit, and the following partners: the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, the Atlanta Police Department, the Cobb County Police Department, the DeKalb County Police Department, the Gwinnett County Police Department, the Marietta Police Department, the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. That's weird. See where it's right here? You got them here. So there's the Cobb County Police Department. And so now I'm replaying in my mind all these people right here that's listed right here that's trying to catch some of these. But they themselves are predators themselves a lot, like we went over with Charles Rogers, Blackstone lawyer. So then there's the Gwinnett County Police Department, the Marietta Police Department, the DeKalb County District Attorney's Office, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the National Child Protection Task Force, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines, too? So previous and ongoing operations targeted human traffickers. In 2 years, CAR's Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit has shut down more than 40 illicit massage businesses in Athens, Clark, Cobb, Cherokee, Fulton, Floyd, Gwinnett, Hall, and Henry counties through an effort known as Operation in Plain Sight. Carl's team previously partnered with the U.S. Marshal Service and other local, state, and federal partners for Operation Not Forgotten, which resulted in the safe location of 39 missing children in 2020 and 20 missing children in 2021. This includes a 17-year-old victim who was previously reported as missing from her home in Kansas City, Missouri, and located at a hotel in Fulton County where she was trafficked. For that one recovery, Carter's team has successfully prosecuted 13 traffickers, including those who bought and sold the child for sex. About the Attorney General's Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit, in 2019, with the support of Governor Brian Kemp, First Lady Marty Kemp, and the leaders in the Georgia General Assembly, Attorney General Chris Carr created the first of its kind statewide Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit. Since its inception, the Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit has secured more than 70 criminal convictions and rescued and assisted over 200 children. Woo! This unit is based in Atlanta with regional satellite prosecutors and investigators in Macon and Augusta. The Human Trafficking Prosecution Unit is housed in the Attorney General's Prosecution Division, which includes Carr's Gang Prosecution Unit, his White Collar and Cyber Crime Unit, and his Organized Retail Crime Unit. Okay, so, all right, we got that one passed. Okay, we don't need that one there. Okay, let's see what this one is too. Okay, is this helping anybody see a little more? I hope it's helping y'all out to understand what's going on too. Like I said, I have to keep playing with this screen since it keeps messing around. I need to just stop that. So the next thing says, okay, says that when foster care kids are sex trafficked, some states fail to figure it out. A federal audit shows some states don't conduct federally required screenings. You hear that? It's federally required, and some states refuse to do. Find a teen for sex is child rape. That's what that picture is of it. Okay, T. Ortiz, a trafficking survivor who's now an advocate and policy consultant, speaks at an event raising awareness for child sex trafficking victims. A federal audit last year found states often fail to follow a federal law that requires screening foster care children for sex trafficking when they return after going missing, courtesy of T. Ortiz. For help, call 1-888-373-7888 or text 233-733 for the 24/7 National Human Trafficking Hotline, a national toll-free hotline. When she was 10 years old, she was a foster child. T. Ortiz often rode a public bus around the San Francisco Bay Area alone. She would frequent a bus stop by a barber shop. Little by little, the barber, who was 15 years older, befriended her. She said buying her snacks and meals, giving her attention, gaining her trust. It wasn't too long before he started selling her on the street and taking explicit photos of her. Wow. Ortiz wasn't a stranger to abuse. She'd been first sex trafficked by her birth mom when she was 5 years old. She was abused by foster parents throughout her childhood, she recalled. Ortiz was in state custody and sex trafficked through age 17. She doesn't remember how many group and foster homes she'd been placed in. She stopped uh, counting at 14 homes as she moved from one to another. Okay, so let's go right here. So as she moved from one to another, the barber said he protected her from the abusive foster parents. You're nothing more than a paycheck to them, he told her. He was the most consistent person in her life, said Ortiz, who is now a 34-year-old advocate and policy advisor who travels the nation and working with the nonprofits to help survivors and to train and educate people about human trafficking and how to prevent it. So somebody's trying to call me, but I'm busy. Ortiz went missing from her foster home dozens of times, sometimes for days or even weeks, as she was trafficked around California and across state lines in Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. The caseworkers never properly screened her to uncover that she had been raped, she said. Many kids across the country still go under the radar due to screening models across states that lack uniformity and consistency. Foster care children are especially vulnerable to sex trafficking, and a 2014 federal law requires state authorities to screen missing children when they are found to determine whether they were sexually exploited. But a federal audit suggests that some states are failing in that duty, missing opportunities to connect kids with help and prevent further harm. Many kids across the country still go under the radar due to screening models across states that lack uniformity and consistency, said Ortiz, who testified before a U.S. House panel in favor of the federal law. The push from the top, from government and state officials, need needs to ensure that it happens. The report last year on 5 states, Illinois, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Texas, by the Office of the Inspector General at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, boy, found no evidence of a screening in 65% of the 413 case files of returned children between 2018 and 2019. The auditors selected those states because they reported the most runaway or missing children in 2018. When caseworkers did screen, nope. When caseworkers did screen children who have been missing according to the audit, the workers sometimes relied on the kids themselves to say whether they had been victimized, a practice deemed unreliable because children often don't disclose or even understand what they're experiencing. To conduct the screening, child welfare workers typically use a questionnaire or checklist designed to detect exploitation. The screener should seek to determine, for example, whether the child has met with online acquaintances, if there's been prior abuse or trauma, and whether the youth is on edge for hypervigilance. New tattoos might be a trapper's way of branding the child as property. Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Minnesota, and Illinois showed documented screenings for just 15%, 18%, 19%, and 32% of the children, respectively. So you can get in. Man, this goes on and on. I'm trying to find out where I had seen this earlier. So the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services said it's taken steps to address child trafficking since the Inspector General collected the data for its report. Um, I need to find that a little bit. Uh, what I had seen a few. I guess y'all can see this stuff going through there really. So, according to an analysis by the Vancouver, Washington-based sex trafficking prevention nonprofit Shared Hope International Institute for Justice and Advocacy, only 11 states, Colorado, Florida, Kansas, Kentucky, Maryland, Minnesota, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Utah, plus Washington, D.C., have laws mandating that child welfare agencies screen children who might have been sex trafficked. Of those, only three. So I want to go over here and try to find the other literature that I had a few minutes ago, where where the you see at the bottom of the picture, y'all, on the headline that on the page that I got there, where the kids in Georgia sold since 2000, I mean 1950 to 2000. Was it 2005? Is that what that says? Okay, let's see. In the 50s and 60s, Thomas Hicks said that last week took some pics of the clinic, understanding the nurses he worked with and other staff had known. Bela George Tant is an American child trafficker and social worker who do what? I found out a little bit more. Well, okay, let me get to this right quick. I'm trying to click on it so it would show me. I'm sorry. This does not give enough. Let me see if I could get the StreamYard going. I just hate that I have to keep changing the screen. Please forgive me. I guess I need to write StreamYard about that, don't I? So I don't have this constant aggravation. Okay, let's see. All right. So let's get down here and share this now. I guess I got to stop that screen first. Remove. So now let's go ahead and we add this other thing. Okay, so let's share screen. Is this the one? Okay. Make sure that it share the audios. Oh, hold on a minute. So let's get it back over here. Don't watch that. Okay, unshare again. Let's try this again. Video, there we go. Let's make sure to be here. Here we go.
Look like the same, especially with those the red scarves
clothes
on our hats.
we have same style of clothing, but not
course.
now. Not
But
now.
now we have the same eye shape.
You see what the title says right there?
Identical, but until recently they didn't even know each other existed. They grew up in different families in cities 2 hours apart.
The first emotion was that
We were looking
in the mirror. Yeah.
After connecting on social media, they both confronted their parents, who confirmed they were adopted. So they decided to meet.
It was so hard for us to realize everything. We have a big emotional support from each other and from our parents also, who raised us for 18 years.
They believe they're twin sisters who were separated at birth.
We're the same weight, same height. We have the same eye shape, and I don't know, we look like each other so much. Also, before Anna made the plastic surgery on her nose,
I was like that.
yeah, she was exactly like me. I don't even know which one is my photos when I'm looking at it. That's why we think we're the sisters, especially twins.
They then found a Facebook page that was reuniting adopted children with their biological parents. That's when they realised they were likely victims of a child trafficking scandal which spanned half a century. It's believed tens of thousands of children in Georgia were taken from their parents at birth and sold on a black market.
We found out that it was systemic, and we found out that there are more than 100,000 children stolen in Georgia's hospitals.
Anna's adopted mother confirmed she paid $3,500 for her in 2005.
Wow.
Back then, that was enough to buy a small apartment in Georgia.
I had no clue. At the time, you had to wait ages to adopt somebody. My husband and I were personally waiting for 6 years before we got Anna.
The scandal wasn't just happening in Tbilisi, it was all over the country. We're heading 2 hours east of the capital now to meet a mother who was told that her twin boys died.
Wow.
Irina Otarashvili delivered twin boys in 1978. She thought she took their bodies home in a suitcase.
I told my husband to bring something to wrap them up to bury them.
They never looked inside.
He buried the suitcase under our hazelnut tree. That was their grave.
More than 4 decades later, her daughters stumbled across the same Facebook page as Anna and Elena. They wondered about the suitcase their parents had buried all those years ago.
We took Mum to her brother's house and dug out the grave. We pushed it with a crowbar and it opened, and there was absolutely nothing in it
Wow.
except those tiny sticks.
The family says police told them there were no human remains inside.
I was shocked. They stole my children from me. I could not even imagine a doctor could steal a child and sell it and tell the mother the child has died. I want to find my children because I don't want them to think they were abandoned by their mother.
I don't.
Until now, little has been known about this dark chapter in Georgia's Soviet past. Local journalist Tamuna Mutsuretse
That's the
exposed
country
the
of
story
Georgia and not
after
the state
discovering in
Georgia.
2016 that she had
This has got to be the country Georgia, not the state of Georgia in the United States.
2 birth certificates. She later found out she too had been adopted. She set up the Facebook page, which has reunited 700 families in the past 3 years and has close to 250,000 members.
We believe that in this crime organization, there were people involved from the taxi driver to the people from government.
Tamuna teamed with human rights lawyer Leah Muhasharia to investigate the scheme. They believe doctors, nurses, politicians and taxi drivers were all behind it, each getting paid for selling the children. Overseas adoptions attracted much higher prices of up to $30,000 US.
I could never imagine the number of child trafficking in this country. And it became even worse in 90s.
Yeah, it's pretty scary too. That's another job that after my dad got out the military, he actually started driving for yellow taxis. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
When it became possible to give away child abroad and sell it children for very big amount of money.
She got rare insight into how the system operated in Georgia when she came to adopt her own child more than 20 years ago.
I found out that the boy, for boy, they are asking twice higher price than for girl. And it depends also with the age of baby or child. It was pretty clear that it was a kind of well-structured illegal business in this country.
Leah is bringing civil cases to Georgian courts to try and change laws to make it easier for adopted children to find their biological parents.
If we lose at all 3 instances, then I'm ready to take these cases to the European Court of Human Rights.
In 2022, the Georgian government launched an investigation into historic child trafficking. It's yet to release any findings. The government did not respond to the ABC's questions.
I don't know what you think.
Anna and Elena want to find their biological parents.
Maybe our parents think that we're dead, we're not even alive, and it would be so great to find them and tell them the truth or found out the truth.
We want to know who are we, what is our real surname,
Our genetics, because
who are our parents, are we like our mother or father? Are you nervous?
Yeah, I'm a little bit actually.
Now I will open it.
They're taking a test to confirm they share DNA. Are you nervous?
Yes.
we're so nervous, but as I said, we have each other, and
This is the most important for us.
I think we're the 100% the twin sisters. I don't know. We have the feeling that we know each other for all our lives.
For now, they're just catching up on lost time. Catherine Diss, ABC News, Georgia.
Wow. So what's y'all's take on that? It's pretty scary, ain't it? Hey there, Mr. L. Good to see you. This should be a federal mandate across all states. Exactly, it should be, shouldn't it? Our government is lenient, allowing states to do their own thing. It's a shame for it not to be across the board, right? My grandfather owned a fleet of yellow taxis in the 70s through 90s. Wow, no traffic involved. And it's kind of weird where my daddy worked too with the yellow taxis. That was in y'all know about Disney World, Walt Disney World, so it's down there in Orlando, Florida. Oh, yeah, we lived in Orlando, Florida part of the time, and that's where they showed me in the restaurants, and no telling who all was involved. But That's why I use my story to help others. Thank y'all for coming in. I think it was very important going over the different. And there's also, it says people of color such as Ortiz are disproportionately sex trafficked according to National Child Traumatic Stress Network. But I want to tell people I don't have any special privilege, I was abused myself, I don't go and, but, but how you could go and find out more, how you could heal from it, is, it was their fault. Put the blame into people's hands that did these acts, right? Don't blame yourself, okay? You were not at fault for what was done to you, okay? So they said experts say that states also need to improve monitoring of group foster homes. Last year in Bastrop, Texas, state officials shut down a state-licensed foster care facility for girls who have been sex trafficked victims after court found evidence staff themselves were trafficking the children. The lack of gold standard tool that agencies nationwide can use is a serious shortcoming. According to Bethany Gillott, former statewide human trafficking prevention director at Florida's Juvenile Justice and Child Welfare Agencies, Gillott who is chair of the National Child Welfare Anti-Trafficking Collaborative, noted that only one commonly used tool, the Commercial Sexual Exploitation Identification Tool, has been researched and shown to be effective in child welfare settings. Many states use their own questionnaires, which may or not been effective. I'm one of many, Ortiz says. So what I'm going to do right quick, I'm going to go back over here and see if I can share this page for y'all, okay? So share screen. Okay. Get it back over here. And I'm going to try to see if I can click on this tool. Okay, see what it does here. The Commercial Sexual Exploitation Identification Tool right there. Got to get it to maximize and get it bigger. Okay. There we go. Okay, just trying to make it bigger. So this is basically you reach the end of the document. Let's see, all tools, see if we got edit. Let's try to see if we can make it bigger. I don't know. No, I ain't gonna pay no fine. I ain't gonna pay for it, sorry. So let's get off of there. Okay, anyway. But thank y'all for coming in. I think it's very important to touch base on all this. I want to say God bless each and every one of y'all. Yeah, it is sad, isn't it? Well, thank you so much for doing what you do. I appreciate and love you all so much too. God bless y'all. Do something important for yourselves. Because I know we get so busy and we're helping others. But a lot of times we forget to do things for ourselves, okay? You matter. If you need rest and relaxation, go and do that. Talk kindly to yourself. Maybe nobody around you is talking kindly to you. Maybe sometimes you have to be kind to yourself as well, just because of the fact that other people are being a little mean or a little standoffish. Love and prayers for all. May God bless you. That's all. Amen to that. Y'all have a great day and rest well. And I pray that y'all have a great week ahead too.